Welcome all to a new video about Cattitude. I have to warn you in advance, nothing in this video has been prepared. I just want to show you Cattitude as it is, raw, so that you know exactly what to expect when you decide to start using this software. The only thing I did prepare was I had Claude prepare a typical game localization project, and I asked Claude to build it in such a way that I can show you a few features Cattitude really excels at. That's all. So, without further ado, let's have a look at what Claude prepared for me. What you see here is Linux Ubuntu, but Cattitude is browser-based, so you can use it on any operating system, including Windows, macOS, Linux, whatever flavor you're into. Okay, so let's go to my project directory. This project has been generated in a directory called test, and it was made today on the 24th of May 2026. Okay, so let's see what we have. We have three files that need to be translated: achievements, dialogue, and UI. Let's just have a very quick look at them. Okay, so this is a typical Excel file. There's a string idea column, the descriptions of which do not really help us. There's source text. There's some, this is nice. The developers have actually commented all strings. So they probably realized that the string ideas themselves weren't that descriptive. So this is good. And this is the column we should fill up with our Dutch translations later on. There's a dialogue file, which basically follows the same structure. I see there's one extra column called speaker, which shows us who is saying what, which is handy because each character may have their own register. Some characters may speak formally, other characters may speak informally, etc., etc. There's a UI.xlxx, which is for general UI elements. Once more, string ID column, source text, some extra context, which is very handy for UI elements. There's a max length column, and it seems that one string has a maximum length of 14 because else it would not fit into the window. And there's an empty target column. Okay, so this is what we have. Then there's a context directory, which has been used by Claude itself. Nothing interesting there. And there's a reference directory with typical reference materials Claude has generated. So what do game developers normally send us? Well, they send us screenshots. Here, okay, this is nice. Achievement unlocked. It says literally the best. Okay, so this will need a pun in Dutch. Let me just let this simmer in the back of my head. Welcome to Nine Lives Incorporated. Yeah, this is clearly about cats. This is a game about cats. Login screen, level player progression screen. And there's our quit to main menu text. And now we know why it needs to be 14 characters max, because it doesn't fit the window. Okay, good. Okay, so those are the screenshots. Then there's a document called character voices. We don't need these actually. These were generated by Claude. I can just delete them. So there's a character voices document which tells us who is who, and it gives us more information about the style used by each character. Whiskers, mid-40s, stabby, cold, slow, controlled. Mittens, blunt, swears under stress. Tigger, eager, polite, slightly anxious. And there's the narrator. Okay, good. There's a glossary, which contains English terms, the Dutch translations, and notes. And then we have an excerpt of basically telling us what happened before, just for reference. There's a style guide with general instructions about how to translate this game. And this seems to be a translation memory, yeah, sent to us by the client with English source text and Dutch target text with some extra context. So the first thing we'll probably need to do is import this glossary into our terminology database and import these excerpts from the translation memory into our translation database. Before I do that, there's one thing I forgot to prepare for this video. So if you just give me a few seconds, I can take care of that. Yeah, I need to delete this and I need to delete this. Okay, thank you for your patience. Good. So normally when you do a translation in Cattitude, you use the server version and you basically drag and drop the files you want to translate to Cattitude. I'm using the developer-only local version here. So that version works a bit differently. I just input the directory with the files I want to translate. And I would normally just paste it there and then press the translate button. But before I do that, there's actually something I forgot. I forgot to import our terminology and our existing translation. So let's do that first. We use terms import. Wrong button, sorry for that. And we're gonna import this glossary.xlx terms import. And look what we have here. Yeah, okay, so there is an English source column, a Dutch target column. We don't need this context. The source language is English, the target language is Dutch, and this is for client test because, you know, this is just a demo video, right? And as we do not need the column headings themselves, our start row will be 2. Good. Preview import. So this is what it's going to look like. We have 9 Lives Incorporated, which will be translated as is. Hairball will be has to be translated as haarbal according to the client. Catnip department, they want us to translate as catnip afdeling. I do not agree with this. So this is going to be interesting. And salmon has to become zalm, etc., etc. This looks good, so let's just import the terms as they are. Then we go back to our main screen and we import our translation memory. For that, we use memory import. And I just drag and drop my CSV file. Note that the glossary was actually an Excel file, and the terminology database is a CSV file. And Cattitude detects the format automatically. So it's just drag and drop, plug and play. Memory import. Hold on, what happened here? Yeah, oh, I'm not sure what happened there. I probably pressed the wrong button. Let's have a look. We have a source column, we have a target column, and we don't really need the rest, do we? This is also English source, Dutch target. The client is still test. And the starting row will be 2. Okay, that looks good. Oh, I am worried a bit about the quotes here. Let's see if Cattitude is smart enough to just clean them up. Ha! And it is smart enough. The quotes have disappeared. Welcome to 9 Lives Incorporated will be imported as welkom bij 9 Lives Incorporated. You have 7 hairballs to clean up will be imported as je hebt 7 haarballen op te ruimen. I'm not sure if I agree with that translation. It looks a bit clunky. Save progress, voortgang opslaan, etc. Let's just import as is. There we go. Good. Next step. As said before, the local version is a bit different. I just copy the directory name and I paste it here and I press translate. There we go. Okay. What's going on? Hold on. This is the wrong directory. I made a mistake. I need to import this directory. I was just trying to import the reference directory, but that's not the directory that needs translation, right? Okay, good. So what do we have here? Lots of information on the screen. Here's our first file, the achievements file. And once more, I have to define which column represents what data. So this is the string ID. This is the English source text. This will become the Dutch target text. This is extra context information. And we do not need the first row. Okay, we don't need this anymore. We can now collapse it. Next file. There. The string ID, the source text, the speaker, who is speaking, who is saying what, that's extra context information. This too is extra context information. And this is our Dutch target. So far so good. And oh yeah, we do not need the first row, as usual. We can collapse this too now. And there you go. String ID, source text, context. There's an extra limit column which contains information about the maximum length I'm allowed to use for my translation. And here's my Dutch target. Done. Re-import. There we go. And we can see that all text has been neatly imported into Cattitude. And I can just start translating. Okay, so here we see the source text. Here we should input our target text. I'm using a local LLM for a very rough draft translation. Some people hate AI, some people love it. I'm somewhere in between. I will use it whenever it fits me. I will never allow it to rule me, but I will use it to my advantage. First performance review. This is a pun, and I don't want you to stare at me while I'm thinking for about 10 minutes before I come up with an acceptable translation. So let's forget about the pun and instead just see if ChatGPT knows a better translation than this. Because eerste evaluatie van prestaties, first evaluation of performance sounds very boring. I can press Control Space to ask ChatGPT to come up with a better suggestion, which is even worse. This is just pure nonsense. I can press Control Shift Space to ask ChatGPT to come up with 5 different suggestions. You know, to stir up my creativity a bit. And they're all terrible. They're all actually absolutely terrible. So ChatGPT is not going to help us. My local LLM is not going to help us. Maybe I have to use my human mind. But before I do that, I can use one more feature, which is called Explain. And it's the small question mark icon here, button here on the right. When I press this, it will actually look at all reference material. So that it gets lots of context, and then it can generate a translation, or at least give me some ideas. So it says, sources used, glossary, context metadata, key term occurrences, reference documents. These are all the documents I put in the reference directory. And it concludes, this looks like an achievement or UI label unlocked after the player's first promotion. And the source explicitly says is a pun on per and performance. And there's a lot of other information. And then it comes up with absolute nonsense. So Explain is not gonna help me either. I can actually reason with this feature. So I could say Spinnelinks spec means absolutely nothing in Dutch. Come up with better ideas. Come up with better ideas and give me 25 creative options. Meaning is not important as long as the translation fits the context. Translate freely. Do not hesitate to translate freely. To translate very freely and creatively. Is that a word? Okay. So let's see. It's obviously thinking. Okay. Spinprestatie, spinevaluatie, spingesprek. Spin actually means spider, or in this case per. Miauw beoordeling, miauw valuatie, miauw valuatie. That's actually nice. Miauw prestatie. Miauw is mew. Miauw. Snorhaar beoordeling. Kopjes beoordeling. Katten review. Spinformance review. Spin. Okay. None of them are actually very convincing. This is just a very hard pun to translate. Meow valuatie. Mew valuation. It's not a very good pun, but you're watching this video to see the features of Cattitude and not to watch me come up with a good translation. In 20 minutes I may come up with something, but okay, no, let's just leave it at this. Good. Obviously, the spelling check now kicks in and says, hey, this word does not exist. So I could actually add this to my dictionary, but in this case, maybe that's not a very good idea. So just let's leave it at this. Next sentence, 9 lives, 9 promotions. And it says the client, this information is taken straight from the context column in the Excel file. The client says this is the brand name and must stay in English. But in this case, I don't think the client is right. Because if we translate 9 lives and then do not translate the other way around. If we do not translate 9 lives and then decide to translate 9 promotions, the whole connection between 9 and the translation of 9 in Dutch, 9, will be lost. So we have to go against this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a question. But as I need to deliver today, let's suppose I have to deliver today because, of course, this project is not real. Let me just phrase it as a fait accompli. In this case, I think it's better to translate 9 lives because else the connection between 9 lives and 9 promotions will be lost. Something like that. I just submit this, and this will, when all is being said and done, be exported to a separate file which I can include with the delivery. So in this case, 9 levens, 9 promoties. That's actually a good machine translation. Literally the best. It's not going to work. This will involve some creativity. So let's see. Cattitude automatically linked the screenshot to this source text because it recognized parts of the text in the screenshot, or because the screenshot had the same name as a string idea. There are many ways Cattitude can automatically link this stuff, and this is just one of them. So, okay, let's have a look at this context. Literally the best. Okay, it's an achievement if you're basically a top quarterly performer. Okay, so the literal meaning is not really important, actually. It's just need to make a pun on cats. What we can do in this case is use this, kat in het bakkie, which means, which is a Dutch idiom for cat in the litter box, but the actual meaning is easy peasy. But don't ask me where that came from, but that's what it means. So it's not a real pun, but at least we can use a pretty neutral Dutch idiom related to cats. Good. Herbal of Fame. Hall of Fame. Okay, this is clearly a pun on Hall of Fame. My local LLM came up with this nonsense. I can ask ChatGPT, which is even worse. In this case, I think I'm going to translate this manually. So, a Hall of Fame in Dutch would be een eregalerij. Okay, let me think really quickly. Haarbal. Hairball has to be translated as haarbal, but this is a pun, so we can overrule that. Yeah. Hard to come up with a good pun. So in this case, as for now, as a provisional translation, let's just come up with Hairball Galerij, which means Hairball Gallery, Hairball of Fame. And it also adheres to the client's terminology, so everybody happy. I mean, if this were a real translation, of course, I would come up with something better, but there's no time for that, and that's not the reason you're watching this video. Catnip connoisseur, kattenkruidkenner. That's actually really good because there's alliteration, CC, and in Dutch we have KKK. Oh, that sounds so wrong. I'm sorry for that. But yeah, there is 3 Ks. Kattenkruidkenner. So in Dutch, this works, and it's a literal translation. So we got lucky. Good. Top of the scratching post, de bovenkant van de krabpaal. This refers to the top of the pole, the top of the leaderboard. So instead of the upper side of the scratching post, I think top is better. The top van de krabpaal. And here is a premium lid, premium member, but the left side is orange, which means that currently our translation is violating terminology standards. So let's have a look. When we scroll up, we see that this actually comes from the terminology database we imported before starting this project. And we see that the client wants us to translate premium member as premium lid. So what we can do is just press F1 for auto-assemble, dump translation, and it will just copy the source text to the target text, and then replace all terms with their Dutch counterparts, Dutch equivalents. And in this case, the segment actually is the term in its whole. There you go. Okay, next file. This is the dialogue file. Okay. Welkom bij 9 Lives Incorporated, de enige door katten geleide start-up in de... This is absolute nonsense. Instead, let's use ChatGPT. Because I'm lazy. So I press Ctrl Space, and it will actually feed the source text plus the defined terminology to ChatGPT. And we get, welkom bij 9 Lives Incorporated, de enige start-up in de kattenbakindustrie die door katten wordt geleid. This is actually okay. This Dutch is okay, but there's one issue. Because this word startup in Dutch has been misspelled. In Dutch, we use a hyphen here. So, to remember Cattitude, to remind Cattitude of that, I can add this word as a term. So, I select it in the target, I press Ctrl-Shift, I select the source term in the source, and I press Ctrl-Shift. And you will see that both terms have been moved to this part of the upper screen. And I can now I could press Ctrl-Q, or I could just press Add Term. And you will see that from now on, startup will appear as a term. And all terms in my translation adhere to the defined terminology, which is why they all light up as green in the source. Now, to show you that this works, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this translation. It has not been added to the memory yet. And I'm going to press Ctrl Space again. And now we will also feed this newly defined term startup to ChatGPT. And if all goes well, ChatGPT should actually adhere to that and insert a hyphen in the Dutch translation. Let's see. There you go. Welkom bij 9 Lives, de enige door katten geleden startup. Nou, there's a nice hyphen in the middle of it. Control down. The word kattenbak industry triggers the spell check. Kattenbak industry, litterbox industry is not in my spelling dictionary. Not very surprising. Let's add it. There you go. Next sentence. Heb je de zalm meegenomen, Whiskas? This is a good translation. I mean, these are very simple sentences, you know. Mittens uses informal je, and this is respected in the translation. So, we're good. Next. Natuurlijk, de zalm is niet verhandelbaar. This is nonsense. What is actually interesting is this patched translation. The left part of this sentence is patched, and the right part is machine translated. And what does patched actually mean? I think in MemoQ they call this LSC, but I don't think they ever got it to work. And in Cattitude it actually works. And this is a very stupid, simple example. It's just to give you a general idea of this feature. Because there are situations in which this feature is much more useful. So just to illustrate the idea. if we have translated a sentence before, of course, we have translated the sentence, the segment, of course, as natuurlijk. And we then encounter this sentence. Of course, the salmon is non-negotiable. This will not result in a match. And if it results in a match, it will be like 10 or 20 or 30%. Because the word, of course, is only a very small part of the whole segment, right? But Cattitude actually digs further, which is also why it's slightly slower than other cat tools, because it mines much deeper. And it actually has found that, of course, has been translated as a whole segment before. To be precise, today. And it just inserts that translation. And it's correct, actually. And then the part it cannot find in our memory in whatsoever way, it machine translates. So what you see here is a mix of a patched match and a machine translation. Unfortunately, the machine translation is not acceptable. So instead of asking my local LLM, we're going to just throw the whole segment in ChatGPT and see what it comes up with. Control space. You know, I could also type this manually. I mean, I'm not that stupid, but I'm lazy. Today I'm lazy. Natuurlijk, de zalm staat niet ter discussie. This is good, actually. This is a good translation. And it sounds very formal, but that's correct, because Whiskers actually replies in a formal register. So this is okay. Control down, next sentence. Heb je de deal getekend zonder de kattenkruidsafdeling te raadplegen? This is a spelling miss. It's also... I don't like the translation at all. And the current translation does not adhere to the client's terminology. But the client wants us to translate catnip department as catnip afdeling. And this is nonsense, because Dutch has a perfectly acceptable word for catnip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to overrule the client. I know better. I mean, my Dutch is better than theirs. That's why they hired me. So what we're going to do is I'm going to update the terminology to kattenkruidafdeling. Now let's feed that to ChatGPT. That's my cappuccino machine, proving that this video was not prepared. I basically live on cappuccino, you know. It's I've got this IV in my arm and it goes straight to the machine. Heb je de deal gesloten zonder de kattenkruidafdeling te raadplegen? Now the terminology is correct. And this is actually good. Mitten uses you with everyone, including her CEO. This is good. Yeah, it's informal register. We can use this. Okay, next. This is sheer nonsense, this Dutch. Let's ask ChatGPT instead. U zult de commando... This sounds a bit awkward. Let's change this into moet. U moet de commandostructuur volgen. You have to follow the chain of command. Sounds better than you shall follow the chain of command. I mean, we're not Gandalf here. Standard empty drops to yeah. Whisker stays on U. He called power register. So this is formal register, so that's good. Next translation. I brought you fresh tuna, sir. Ik heb verse tonijn voor u, meneer. Formal U is correct here. Okay. This is good. Look what we have. This is an exact match from the client's translation memory we imported before translating this project. And as Auto-propagate was turned on, and now it's turned off, the LED has become red, but as it was turned on, the translation was added to the memory automatically because it was a perfect match. That being said, Cattitude got it wrong. Because what happened? You hear this strange sound, and automatically the word toetsenbord, the translation of keyboard, was capitalized. And that is because, hold on. Yeah, just like I thought. The current terminology database only has the capitalized version of the word keyboard, which has been translated as the capitalized version of the translation toetsenbord. So to prevent this correction, this autocorrect happening, we need to add the lowercase keyboard as toetsenbord to our terminology database. And now it will autocorrect to the lowercase version. Why? Why so complicated? Because whether a term is capitalized or not can actually make a difference for the translation. I mean, there's a brand called Apple and there's a fruit called apple, isn't it? So you need to distinguish between these two. If you absolutely do not want any distinguishment, then you can just choose to only define the lowercase version, but then it will not autocorrect. Good. This is a 100% match straight from the memory, which we imported today. Next. ChatGPT. De kattenkruidafdeling eist opslag. This is correct. Nothing needs to be changed. There is a match from the memory, which is actually the one that was used to come up with this patched match here. Do you remember? So we can just use the translation as is. It's a 100% match from the memory. Why wasn't it auto-propagated? Because auto-propagated was turned off automatically after Cattitude decided to autocorrect the word keyboard. It always halts auto-propagation in such cases because it wants you, the translator, the human translator, to actually check whether the autocorrect was correct. And in this case, it wasn't. So it was a good thing it actually halted auto-propagation. For now, however, we can turn it on again. So I press Ctrl P, the LED has become green again, and I will add this translation. There is an exact match, and it has been auto-propagated. It looks good. This has nothing. Whiskers had brought the salmon to mittens. Okay, Control Space. Whiskers heeft de zalm naar mittens gebracht. Sounds good. Next. Okay, our next sentence. Oh, that's actually really nice. Yeah. What you see here is a so-called constructed match, which is pretty unique. You're probably aware of the fact that some cat tools can automatically replace one term in a sentence if it has been defined in a terminology database. Cattitude can do this too, but it can actually do it for up to 6 terms in one segment. So what we see here is we have a sentence. We have previously translated the sentence, Whiskers had brought the salmon to mittens. And now we see a variation on that pattern, namely Tigger has brought the tuna to Whiskers. Now, Cattitude knows that Whiskers should be translated as Whiskers, mittens has been translated as mittens, and salmon should be translated as zalm. It also knows that tuna should be translated as tonijn, and it knows that Tigger should be translated as Tigger. And if you combine all that knowledge, you can automatically replace all terms that have changed. And that is basically what has happened on top. Whiskers has been replaced by Tigger, salmon has been translated by tuna, and mittens has been replaced by Whiskers. So once you know that, you can do exactly the same thing in Dutch. You can replace Whiskers by Tigger, you can replace zalm by tonijn, and you can replace mittens by Whiskers. And that's what it does. So I press Ctrl up and I get the constructed match. Tigger heeft de tonijn naar Whiskers gebracht. And this is perfectly acceptable. I can just add this translation. And it triggers the spell check because a Tigger is not in the dictionary. Here we once more have a patched match. The first, this part of the match is 100% reliable because it was derived straight from this translation, which we already translated before here, to be precise. So, and the second part was machine translated. So what you see here is once more that Cattitude does not pick machine translation or manual translation or a constructed match, but it can actually patch all these different kind of matches together. The first part of this segment is an exact match, and the second part is a machine translation. It mixes and mingles. Unfortunately, the machine translation is entirely off, so this is where the human translator intervenes. Okay, next. These are UI elements, and these have been translated countless times before. For example, this match OK comes straight from memory. It was translated on 22 February 2026 for our client Lockheed QA for a game called Modulus, which was translated to Dutch. As I expect quite some exact matches in this part of the interface, because these are buttons that always have the same translation no matter what game they're from. I will turn Auto-propagate on using Ctrl P. And I will confirm this translation. And now we just enjoy. Cancels added automatically. Welcome to 9 Lives automatically. You have 5 hairballs to clean up. Yeah, I remember that I was not satisfied with this translation given to me by the client in the translation memory. Constructed matches picks this up nicely, says you can use the existing translation and replace 7 by 5, but I don't like the rest of this segment. So yeah, I actually prefer the machine translation, which was generated by my local LLM. You have to clean up 5 hairballs. That sounds good. Then this becomes just a matter of search and replace, because we only change the number. Exact match. Another exact match. You know, no hands, no hands. Okay, this one is actually new. Voortgang, opslaan en laden. That's a perfectly acceptable machine translation. Welcome terug. Okay, this is interesting because you can see on the left there's actually a tag. And that's because for this client called test, I've basically told Cattitude, listen, whatever appears between 2 accolades needs to be treated as a tag. Let's remove this just for fun. Okay, and then let's just re-import this file like this. Okay, now look what happens. There it is. The full contents of the tag are displayed in the actual segment. Normally, this is not what we want. So what you normally do is you go to the regex tagger, you press edit, and you enter the regex for anything between accolades. Then we press add, and then we re-import the translation like this. Hold on. There we go. And the tag is back. Exactly what we want. Nice try. This is a patched match actually, but it's capitalized. So we can just select the whole thing and press Shift F3 to decapitalize it. And now I just delete this part like that. And I press F4 to insert the next tag. And then I add an exclamation mark. There we go. This is a totally useless patched match, which was triggered by the fact that there's no exact match for this segment, but it did find a partial match somewhere in the memory that contained the word level, which has been translated as niveau. Actually, this comes from Electronic Arts FIFA. And apparently this comes from a translation I did yesterday. I didn't even remember. Okay, good. Yeah, in FIFA, level is actually translated to Dutch as niveau. But for this game, I just leave it untranslated because I think that sounds a lot better. So in this case, I press Ctrl right to just copy the source to the target. And all I need to do is translate off as fun. Next. This is a perfectly acceptable machine translation. Once more, generated by my local LLM. This does not adhere to terminology, and it's a bad machine translation. Let's press Ctrl Space. I'm lazy. I don't want to type. Let's ask ChatGPT if it knows something better. De server van de kattenkruidafdeling is momenteel niet beschikbaar. Perfect. I mean, this is not really Shakespeare, is it? Stoppen en naar het hoofdmenu. It adds but but, this is actually wrong. And I'm glad that Cattitude automatically halted the translation, because this translation is too long. And to give you a better overview of what's happening, let's just kill this exact match from the translation memory. Hold on. Because there's something I want to show you. But to be able to do that, I need to get rid of this exact match first. So hold on, I'm working on a different screen, and I'm gonna, yeah, right, just like that. Okay, let me reload the project, and then I can show you. Okay, so we do get an exact match. But it's actually from a different game. It's from Electronic Arts FIFA. This was a segment that was added on 5 March 2021. And I'm not happy with this because first, it's way too long. And you'll also notice that Cattitude came up with an audible error sound. We need to shorten this. So we do have a shorten button that sometimes does a really good job and sometimes gives absolutely terrible results. But, you know, let's just try. So I press shorten. Stop hoofdmenu. Yeah, nice try. Which basically means stop main menu. That's not what we want. You know what I'm going to do? I mean, it does adhere to the length restriction, but this is clearly not what we want. So in this case, shorten this did not give the desired result. I'm just going to say naar hoofdmenu to main menu. I mean, that basically covers it, right? And it also adheres to, it's exactly 14 characters, as you can see on the right. So that's what we'll use. This we can just, yeah, this is perfectly acceptable. That's a match from memory, that's okay. We address the player in an informal way, that's okay. Here we have 2 patched matches. It says fully patched. Logout has been translated as a separate string for Electronic Arts The Sims. And Return to Lobby has been translated as a separate string for QLOC Dead by Daylight in 2019. The thing with the Return to Lobby match is that it's fully capitalized. So let's just decapitalize it by selecting it and pressing Shift F3. And now I only need to capitalize the T. There you go. Stage. Yeah, a stage is a podium, but that's basically a theater stage, which is not what we want. This is stage as in level. And as we decided to keep level untranslated, we'll do the same with stage. Okay, I think we're done. So, there was one more thing, actually. We decided to overrule the client. Didn't we? Actually, we decided to overrule the client twice, if I'm correct. Yeah, here we added a comment, and we did the same for catnip department, isn't it? We have to tell the client. So I'll just phrase this a question. Dutch has a perfectly acceptable translation for catnip. So as for now, I decided to go against the glossary and translate catnip department as cotton kruid afdeling. There you go. And I'll submit this. Okay, good. So what we do now is we export our translation. Export finished. And this will actually, well, the server version of Cattitude, you press folder, and then you see all files that have been exported, which is quite a lot. And, no, let me first show you this. These are the results. Now, there's a lot of baggage we don't need here, and it's not really interesting to tell you what is what, so we'll just delete whatever I don't need. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. Okay, good. This is actually what I will send the client. And once more, these are just draft translations because you're watching this video to learn how Cattitude works and not how to learn how I translate to Dutch. But normally I would take a cup of coffee, think for 30 minutes and come up with better alternatives for the puns. So as for now, just assume I'm a very bad translator and a very, very good developer. I mean, yeah, I can live with that. So, okay, our target translation is right in this column, just where we want it to be. Same for dialog file. And the same for the UI file. So this we can deliver to the client. Now we also want to deliver all our commands, right? We want the client to know when we overrided what and for what reason. So for that, I can use export QA. There you go. And that will generate a QA file with a very neat layout. Look, there you go. And it shows you the file name, the date, time, the username, the string ID, the context, because developers often forget what their own strings are about. The source text and my remark, in this case phrased as a question about this source text. So now I can just bundle all of this, the Dutch translations, my Q&A file, that gives us 4 files. I can just compress them, and let's just call it test, and that's our delivery. And that's the file I will send to the client. There you go. A very small simulated Dutch game project, which has hopefully shown you just some of this. I mean, we're just barely scratching the surface. This package has a 130-page manual for a reason. There's so many buttons, so many bells and whistles. And the nice thing is they're not aimed, definitely most of them are not aimed at project managers. They're meant for and meant for translators. Every single feature in this software is made to help you, a translator. So yeah, we've barely scratched the surface. You've probably seen maybe 5% of the possibilities. But I hope that, and even then we needed like 30 or 40 minutes for it. So I hope this gives you a good general impression of the possibilities of this software. Thank you for watching, and maybe see you in the next video. Happy translating. Goodbye.